In recent years, the public has been completely obsessed with the British royal family, but there is one person who stands out for being somewhat the most resented. In today's video, we will be talking about none other than Princess Beatrice and all the reasons why everyone seems to hate her. And get this, we begin our story with the man who was supposed to be her friend. Sounds fun? Well, stick around because there are a lot more reasons people dislike the Queen's granddaughter, and some will leave you speechless. British media personality Piers Morgan didn't hold back when he took aim at Princess Beatrice, going as far as calling her insane. Yes, it seems that even though the public has seen them as friends, Piers has his reasons to dislike the princess. According to sources close to the controversial TV host, he was discussing the royal family's actions during the pandemic and took particular offense to Beatrice's lavish vacation to Ibiza, which happened while the rest of the country was under strict lockdown measures. Piers expressed his outrage at the princess's tone-deaf decision to jet off to an exclusive island getaway while millions of people across the UK were forced to cancel their own plans, stay home, and follow government restrictions. What kind of person thinks it's remotely acceptable to jet off on a luxury holiday while the rest of the country is stuck at home? She is completely insane. People were making sacrifices, missing family weddings, funerals, and birthdays, and there she was, soaking up the sun in Ibiza as if none of it mattered, he said. He went on to criticize her for what he saw as flaunting her privilege during a time of national crisis. It's like she's living in a different world, detached from reality, he added. Piers's scathing remarks struck a chord with many people who expressed similar frustration and disappointment with Beatrice's actions during such a difficult time. But is this the only reason why everyone hates Princess Beatrice? Of course not. Graham Smith, the CEO of Republic, a UK-based campaign group advocating for the abolition of the monarchy, has also been a vocal critic of the royal family's use of public funds. He has consistently called for Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie to get real jobs, arguing that non-working royals should not be relying on taxpayer money or royal titles for financial support. According to Graham, the sisters, who hold no official royal duties, should live like ordinary citizens, integrating into the workforce without leaning on their status. But this is where it gets really interesting. His frustration actually originates from his belief that the monarchy is an outdated institution that allows privileged individuals to maintain extravagant lifestyles without meaningful contributions to public life. He particularly has labeled it absurd that figures like Beatrice and Eugenie can continue to benefit from their titles without earning their own income like the rest of the public. In fact, this sentiment echoes Graham's mission with Republic, which campaigns for the UK to replace the monarchy with an elected head of state. Smith has been at the forefront of public discussions about the role of the royal family, calling for transparency and questioning the relevance of non-working royals in modern Britain. Graham's outspoken nature has made him a leading figure in the Republican movement, sparking debates on the future of the monarchy. The British monarchy, particularly around issues of privilege and public spending, has come under intense scrutiny. Ingrid Seward has also openly expressed concerns about Princess Beatrice's judgment in several aspects of her public life. One of the key criticisms Ingrid has highlighted is Beatrice's past association with Ghislaine Maxwell, the disgraced socialite and convicted sex offender. Ingrid suggested that Beatrice's attendance at events with Ghislaine was unwise and could severely damage her public reputation, especially in light of Maxwell's conviction and the overall scandal involving Jeffrey Epstein. Given that the public holds the royal family to a high standard, any perceived closeness to controversial figures such as these two invites intense scrutiny and inevitable backlash. In addition to Beatrice's connections with Ghislaine, Ingrid has also questioned her decision to take a job with Aphrodite, a tech firm specializing in artificial intelligence. The company, despite being high-profile, has faced its own controversies, and the biographer remarked that the job is a clear misstep for the princess, further complicating her public image. Apparently, her decision to take a role outside of traditional royal duties while still benefiting from her royal status doesn't sit well with anyone. Basically, with all she's done, Beatrice has attracted frustration and even hate from certain royal watchers who feel that her choices often reflect poor judgment. These incidents have fueled discussions about whether she fully understands the impact of her decisions on public opinion and her reputation as a member of the royal family. In a time when the royal family faces increased scrutiny, these questionable associations and decisions only add to the criticism aimed at Beatrice. A well-known royal expert and commentator, Katie Nicholl, has frequently voiced her concerns about Princess Beatrice's lack of direction. According to Katie, despite being a senior member of the royal family, Beatrice has struggled to carve out a clearly defined role for herself in the public eye. While her cousins, Prince William and Prince Harry, took on active royal duties and championed various causes, Beatrice's path has been less straightforward, which Katie has described as something she dislikes about the princess. The royal expert has suggested that Beatrice's somewhat ambiguous position in the royal family reflects her reluctance or perhaps inability to fully engage in the same capacity as other working royals. While Beatrice has had some involvement in charitable work and holds a role in the private sector, Katie argues that this hasn't been enough to satisfy the public's expectation of a full-time, visible royal presence. In her view, Beatrice should focus more on her royal duties, especially considering the growing public scrutiny surrounding the royals' use of taxpayer money. Of course, almost everyone shares her opinion, but this is not all the expert has pointed out. Katie has further criticized Beatrice for not taking on more official duties, which she believes could help solidify the princess's standing in the royal family and with the public. By not stepping into a more defined role, Beatrice, in her eyes, will be a royal who enjoys the benefits of her status without contributing enough in return. Another respected royal biographer, Angela Levin, publicly questioned Princess Beatrice's decision to hold a private wedding during the height of the pandemic. While many weddings across the UK were postponed or drastically reduced due to lockdown restrictions, Beatrice's secret wedding to Edoardo Mozzi in July 2020 took place under circumstances that many, including Angela Levin, found insensitive. According to this royal biographer, it was difficult for the public to accept that a member of the royal family, even with a smaller ceremony, was able to proceed with such an event when everyone else was facing harsh restrictions and limitations on gathering sizes. They must have hated her. Angela stressed that while Beatrice did scale back the wedding significantly compared to typical royal standards, the fact that she still went ahead with the event demonstrated a lack of awareness about what ordinary citizens were going through. Yet again, many people across the UK had to cancel or postpone even funerals. Can you imagine that? Angela suggested that this discrepancy fostered resentment toward Beatrice. The Partygate incident of May 2020 was a major low point for Princess Beatrice's public image, as she not only had a wedding but also attended a private gathering during the pandemic lockdown, a time when strict restrictions were in place across the UK and beyond. This incident angered many, as everyone else was adhering to the government's rules, which included bans on social gatherings, even for important family events. For ordinary citizens who were making sacrifices, the sight of a royal seemingly ignoring the rules sparked a wave of resentment. The backlash was swift and fierce, social media exploded with criticism, and many people felt that Beatrice's actions represented the privilege and detachment often associated with the royal family. While millions of people across the country were confined to their homes and separated from loved ones, Beatrice appeared to disregard the rules. Public outrage grew as details of the gathering surfaced. Critics labeled Beatrice's actions as selfish and disrespectful, with some even expressing hate towards her. People felt that while they were enduring hardship, the royals were flaunting their privileges. This event pretty much cemented a negative perception of Beatrice during a time when the public was already frustrated by inequality in how the lockdown was experienced by different sectors of society. The Partygate incident became a symbol of royal indifference during one of the UK's most challenging times. The Royal Lodge dispute of 2023 put Princess Beatrice and her sister, Princess Eugenie, in the public spotlight due to the uncertainty surrounding their father, Prince Andrew's potential eviction from the 30-room mansion in Windsor. But why would anyone hate Beatrice for this? Well, listen to the whole story. Prince Andrew had been residing at the Royal Lodge for years, but following his withdrawal from public duties due to his involvement in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, his continued occupancy of the grand estate came under scrutiny. King Charles III reportedly wanted Andrew to downsize, which led to discussions about potentially moving him out of the lodge. Reports indicated that Beatrice and Eugenie were devastated by the prospect of their father being forced to leave the property. The sisters were reportedly distressed by the idea of their family home being taken from Andrew, especially given the negative press surrounding him in recent The royal lodge held significant sentimental value for the York family, and losing it would represent another major blow during an already turbulent period for the man of the house. This family dispute spilled into the media, drawing intense public interest. The story drew widespread media attention as the public weighed in on whether Andrew should continue living in such a large property, given his lack of royal duties. For Beatrice and Eugenie, the pressure was intense. While the public has often viewed them sympathetically, this dispute painted a picture of family tension and frustration and made it all too clear that Princess Beatrice has no intention of looking back at the people who she is close to. Fashion is important. Believe it or not, even Princess Beatrice's fashion choices have been a frequent topic of discussion and criticism over the years, with several outfits sparking hateful speech, especially among the older audience. While fashion is subjective, Beatrice has often found herself on the receiving end of harsh commentary for some of her bold and occasionally eccentric outfit choices. One of the most infamous examples is her Philip Tracy hat at Prince William and Kate Middleton's wedding in 2011. The unusual pretzel-shaped headpiece became a viral sensation, not for its elegance but for how outlandish it appeared. Social media was flooded with memes, and fashion critics were quick to label the choice as inappropriate for such a high-profile event. The backlash was particularly strong from older audiences, who saw the outfit as a breach of royal decorum and criticized her for trying to stand out in a setting meant to be dignified. Beyond the wedding hat, Beatrice has been scrutinized for other fashion decisions, with outfits that some deemed unflattering for her body type or unsuitable for the formal royal events she attends. From bright colors to unconventional cuts, Beatrice's style has been labeled by everyone as attention-seeking. This public commentary has escalated into hateful remarks, particularly on social media, where critics harshly judge her outfits and compare her to other royals like Kate Middleton, who is often praised for her classic and refined wardrobe. When Princess Beatrice and her husband, Edoardo Mozzi, named their daughter Sienna Elizabeth in September 2021, the choice sparked mixed reactions, to say the least. While many saw the middle name as a touching tribute to Beatrice's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, some critics felt the timing of the decision was inappropriate, particularly given that the Queen was already in declining health and would unfortunately pass away just a year later. Some royal watchers felt naming the baby after the Queen was an attempt to cash in on the monarch's name and legacy, sparking numerous accusations of opportunism. The controversy was only worsened by the fact that other royals, like Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, had also named their daughter Lilibet Diana in 2021, which was seen by some as a similar attempt to use the Queen's name for personal gain. In Beatrice's case, the backlash came primarily from social media users, with some arguing that using the Queen's name so close to her passing appeared disrespectful. Critics, particularly from older and more traditional audiences, felt that the name should have been reserved for more direct royal heirs or left untouched out of respect for Queen Elizabeth's long reign and personal struggles at the time. Beatrice faced significant backlash after she and her then-boyfriend, Edoardo Mozzi, were seen taking a private jet to Spain for a luxurious vacation. This trip took place shortly after her cousin Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had been criticized for using private jets while simultaneously advocating for environmental causes. Although Beatrice herself had not been outspoken on environmental issues, the public was quick to label her actions as another example of royal hypocrisy and privilege. Environmental activists were particularly vocal in their criticism, arguing that Beatrice's choice of a private jet for a vacation was tone-deaf in the face of growing climate change concerns. Given the increasing global attention on carbon emissions and sustainable travel, many felt that the royal family's use of private jets was both selfish and harmful. These critics expressed frustration at the royals living in luxury while seemingly ignoring the environmental impact of their choices. The British public, already frustrated with the extravagances of non-working royals, also weighed in. Everyone was angered by the perception that Beatrice, like other royals, was using taxpayer money to fund a lifestyle of private jets, luxury vacations, and general excess. The timing of the trip only added fuel to the fire, as public opinion had already turned sour over similar behaviors from other royal family members. For Beatrice, this vacation reinforced negative public perceptions of the royals being out of touch with the realities faced by everyday people, further damaging her image. Fans of Meghan Markle have often directed their frustration and anger toward various members of the royal family, particularly Princess Beatrice. Allegations emerged that Beatrice, along with other royals, played a role in the cold reception Meghan received when she joined the family. These claims, though never affirmed, have been enough to trigger widespread criticism from Meghan supporters. The Duchess's fan base, particularly on social media, has been known to defend her fiercely, and this defense has led to resentment toward royals who are seen as being unsupportive or indifferent to Meghan's struggles. The tension was heightened after Meghan and Prince Harry stepped down from their royal duties in 2020, as their fans turned their attention to those within the royal circle who were said to have contributed to their difficulties. Princess Beatrice became a target in this portrayal, with many of Meghan's fans accusing her of benefiting from royal privilege while not openly supporting Meghan during her challenging time in the family. Although Beatrice has remained largely silent on the matter, her perceived lack of solidarity with Meghan has led to widespread hatred from Markle's fans, who view her as part of the establishment that failed to support their role model. In 2006, Beatrice also found herself at the center of a minor public scandal later dubbed Gatesgate, when she was caught using the private security gates of Windsor Great Park to grant her friend access to the royal grounds. The gates were reserved exclusively for the royal family and authorized personnel and were not meant for casual use. This incident quickly sparked outrage, with many perceiving it as another misuse of royal privilege. Local residents, who are typically respectful of the royal family's presence, were particularly upset, seeing this act as an example of Beatrice exploiting her status. They voiced concerns that such behavior blurred the lines between royal responsibilities and personal benefits, which they believed should not be used for private social gatherings. This scandal stressed the perception that Beatrice, even at the time still a young royal, was acting recklessly and without regard for the expectations placed on members of the monarchy. The British media seized on the controversy, portraying Beatrice as spoiled. Newspapers and tabloids emphasized the incident as yet another instance of a royal using their status for personal gain, cementing the public's growing skepticism about the privileges enjoyed by certain members of the monarchy. During her sister's wedding reception in 2019, Princess Beatrice made headlines for her unconventional decision to use a ceremonial sword to cut the wedding cake. While intended as a fun and quirky moment, the gesture did not sit well with everyone. What may have been an attempt to inject a bit of playfulness into the event ended up attracting criticism from both social media users and royal watchers, who found the act rather absurd and over the top. Many royal fans felt that Beatrice's choice to use the sword drew unnecessary attention to herself, diverting the focus from her sister's big day. Instead of letting the bride and groom have their moment, Beatrice's actions were seen by some as attention-seeking, with commentators describing the act as cringe-worthy and even inappropriate for such a formal occasion. The reaction on social media was once again swift, with many users criticizing the display as a misjudged attempt at humor. Some described the moment as awkward and unnecessary, with comments pointing out that Beatrice had overshadowed her sister's special day. The backlash was emblematic of a broader frustration with Beatrice's public persona, with some even going as far as to say it made them hate her for disrupting what should have been a moment solely about Eugenie and her new husband. In 2012, Princess Beatrice attended a We Day event aimed at empowering youth and inspiring positive change. However, her speech quickly became a topic of ridicule rather than admiration. Many attendees and social media users expressed disappointment with her delivery, noting a distinct lack of confidence that overshadowed the event's uplifting message. The awkwardness of her presentation was hard to overlook, leading to criticism that she, as a member of the royal family, should have been better prepared for such an important occasion. The backlash was severe, with commentators on various platforms openly mocking her performance. Viewers expected a higher standard from someone in her position, and the perception was that her nervousness detracted from the purpose of the event. Many felt that public figures, especially royals, should be equipped to handle public speaking engagements with poise and professionalism. The press also took note of Beatrice's misstep, with headlines focusing on her shortcomings as a speaker. Articles suggested that she should have taken the event more seriously and prepared more thoroughly. Critics argued that her experience and royal status should have provided her with the necessary skills to engage the audience effectively. The incident raised questions about the readiness of young royals to fulfill their public duties and stressed the challenges they face in meeting public expectations. And let's not forget Princess Beatrice's extravagant 27th birthday party at Annabel's nightclub in Mayfair, London. The lavish celebration featured a high-profile guest list and opulent decorations, leading many to express outrage over the perceived excess at a time when a significant portion of the UK population was grappling with economic difficulties. Critics felt the party was inappropriate for a royal, especially one with relatively limited public duties. Public sentiment turned sour as many viewed the event as a glaring display of wealth and privilege. Comments flooded social media, with users arguing that such indulgence was tone-deaf considering the struggles faced by ordinary citizens. The perception that Princess Beatrice was living an extravagant lifestyle further fueled resentment, with some questioning her understanding of the realities many people were enduring. Media outlets echoed this disapproval, reporting on the party with a critical tone. Articles at the time stressed the disconnect between the royal family and the public, suggesting that Beatrice's lavish celebrations illustrated a lack of awareness regarding the economic climate. The coverage emphasized how her choice to spend significantly on a personal celebration reflected poorly on her role as a public figure. In the end, the expectation for royals to demonstrate sensitivity and understanding toward the public struggles was heightened, and Beatrice's party quickly became a focal point for discussions about privilege and responsibility. So, do you think the world has enough reasons to hate Princess Beatrice? Let us know in the comments.